The first snow of winter had fallen overnight, soft and gentle, covering the little town in a pale white blanket. By morning, the rooftops glistened, and the narrow streets looked like quiet rivers frozen in time. The world outside seemed calm, hushed, as though nature itself had paused to listen. In a small apartment on the edge of town, Anna sat by the window, holding a steaming mug of tea. The glass was cold to the touch, and faint clouds of her breath fogged it every time she leaned close. She liked mornings like these, silent, almost sacred. Yet, beneath that stillness, she carried a weight that no snow could soften. Anna was in her late 30s, a schoolteacher by profession, gentle in manner and soft-spoken. She had lived alone for many years since her parents passed away, and though she never complained, solitude often lingered in her home like an uninvited guest. This winter felt heavier than the others. The school she worked at had cut back on staff, and her hours were reduced. The extra time meant quieter mornings, but it also meant less income. She counted her coins carefully now, making sure every small expense was justified. She tried not to let worry creep into her voice when she spoke with colleagues or neighbors. On that particular morning, Anna noticed something outside. Down by the entrance of her building, an elderly man was struggling with a paper bag of groceries. He looked thin, his back bent under the weight, and his hands trembled slightly in the cold air. She recognized him at once, Mr. Petrov, the widower who lived on the first floor. He was known around the building for his quiet presence. Some neighbors complained about his habit of feeding stray cats near the dumpsters, while others ignored him altogether. Anna, however, had always greeted him politely, though they never spoke more than a few words. As she watched him now, trying to pick up a can that had rolled from the torn bag, something in her heart stirred. She quickly pulled on her coat, wrapped a scarf around her neck, and hurried downstairs. "Let me help you, Mr. Petrov," she said softly, bending to gather the scattered items. The old man looked up, surprised, his eyes watery and uncertain. "Oh, thank you, Anna. These bags are not as strong as they used to be, and neither am I." They shared a small laugh. She carried the groceries inside for him, noticing how sparse and dim his apartment felt. The wallpaper peeled in places, and the air carried the faint smell of dust. On the windowsill, however, lay several bowls of food, leftovers for the stray cats that visited him daily. "You still take care of them," Anna observed gently. He nodded. "They have no one else. And perhaps, neither do I." The words were quiet, almost an afterthought, but they stayed with her. She left his apartment after setting the groceries on the counter, yet throughout the day, his frail voice echoed in her mind. A small beginning. The following morning, Anna knocked on Mr. Petrov's door again. She brought with her a loaf of bread she had baked the night before. "I made too much," she lied kindly. "Would you like some?" His face lit up in a way she hadn't seen before. "Thank you, Anna. It has been years since anyone brought me bread from their own oven." From then on, their conversations grew. Sometimes she stayed for tea, sometimes she only dropped off a little food. Slowly, she began to learn about his life. He had worked as a librarian for most of his years, a man of books and silence. His wife had passed away nearly a decade ago, and his only daughter lived far away, seldom visiting. Loneliness had become his companion, though he rarely admitted it aloud. Anna found herself drawn to these visits. Though she was the one offering kindness, she felt she received something in return. Stories of old times, gentle wisdom, and the reminder that even quiet lives carried deep meaning. Yet, not everyone saw it this way. One afternoon, as Anna was leaving Mr. Petrov's apartment, she overheard two neighbors whispering near the stairwell. "She spends too much time with that old man," one muttered. "Perhaps she's hoping for something in his will," the other replied with a smirk. Their words cut sharper than she expected. Anna hurried upstairs, her cheeks burning. She had done nothing wrong, yet gossip made her feel guilty, as though her kindness needed justification. That night, she sat alone by her window again, the city lights flickering below. She wondered if she should distance herself, protect her reputation, avoid whispers. But then she remembered the way Mr. Petrov's hands had trembled less when he poured her tea last time, how his laughter had returned, light and genuine. "No," she whispered to herself. "Kindness should never be silenced by fear of judgment." A gentle twist. Weeks passed, and the bond between Anna and Mr. Petrov grew like a fragile plant in winter, delicate yet full of promise. She helped him with groceries, tidied his apartment a little, and sometimes read aloud to him from the old books he treasured. But one day, when she knocked on his door, there was no answer. Panic struck her heart. She knocked again, louder this time, and finally pushed the door open. Mr. Petrov was on the floor, clutching his chest, pale and weak. "Help, please," he whispered. Anna rushed to his side, dialing for an ambulance with trembling fingers. She stayed beside him, holding his hand until the paramedics arrived. In those long minutes, she felt fear press down on her, heavier than she had ever known. At the hospital, the doctors explained that he had suffered a mild heart attack but was stable now. Anna visited every day, sitting by his bedside, bringing small comforts, a warm scarf, his favorite tea leaves, a book of poetry. One evening, as he rested, he turned to her with eyes full of quiet gratitude. "You saved my life, Anna. Not just today, but every day these past months. Without you, I might have slipped into silence long ago." Her throat tightened with emotion. She realized then that her small acts of kindness had grown into something much greater than she imagined. The satisfying ending. Spring eventually arrived, melting the snow and bringing fresh life to the town. Mr. Petrov returned home, weaker than before but filled with a new determination. And Anna was no longer alone in her apartment. She often spent evenings downstairs, sharing simple meals, reading aloud, or simply sitting in comfortable silence. The neighbors, once doubtful, noticed the change too. They saw how the old man smiled again, how Anna's eyes seemed brighter. Slowly, the whispers faded, replaced by quiet respect. Some even began checking on Mr. Petrov themselves, leaving small offerings by his door, fruit, warm soup, a loaf of bread. It was as though kindness, once planted, had begun to spread. One afternoon, as they sat by the window watching children play in the courtyard, Mr. Petrov spoke softly. "Do you know what the greatest gift is, Anna? It is not wealth, nor even health. It is to be remembered with kindness in someone's heart. Because as long as we are remembered kindly, we are never truly alone." Anna smiled, her eyes glistening. "Then you will never be alone, Mr. Petrov." The words were simple, but they carried the weight of truth. In that quiet moment, with the soft breeze of spring brushing against the curtains, Anna understood that life's deepest meaning was often found not in grand gestures, but in the small, steady acts of compassion that bound one heart to another. And so, in a little town touched by snow and silence, two souls, one weary with age, the other weary with solitude, found comfort, warmth, and purpose through the gentle power of kindness.